Oh boy. Well, yesterday, the great orange devil, modern day Hitler, or almost, the scourge of the left, got dinged. Dinged big time. Got saddled with charges. Then convicted. Seemed like a big surprise for many people involved. It's not how the Orange Devils defenders thought it would go, I think. Kind of shocking. Many charges laid upon this man's head. Now, there's many Democrats and liberal-minded, left-leaning people that maybe want to say, I told you so, or finally, or something like this. And it's really unfortunate because Trump derangement syndrome is real. It's real. It's part of a deeper problem that's affected many people's reasoning and thought patterns and compassion and political allegiances. But I fear that many left-leaning people who might be overjoyed or, like I said, feel like, oh, finally, about time. About time for this terrible man to pay. I think a lot of these folks still don't get it. They're still suffering from deep derangement. Because this is going to make him more powerful. He's going to be able to use this as a tool to wield, to help solidify the majority of his base that are still with him and draw in new people, because it seems like maybe a bit of a travesty of justice. There's been other presidents that have done similar or a lot worse and haven't gotten dinged so bad with so many charges. And it's tough. It's tough to try to be an open-minded person who cares about others, who strives to see many sides of the story in any situation, recognizes how complicated this human family on this planet is. It's tough to be a person who tries to integrate that and find a path, not too far this way, not too far that way, some sort of dynamic middle path through various challenges. Because there's such extremes in politics these days. And it's not just politics. It's unavoidably tied to culture and the culture war. It's all layered up in a shit sandwich, a big, nasty, stinky shit sandwich. So many people, while this man was actually the president and in power, who were aligned against him in some fashion, didn't understand his strengths. That's part of the derangement. Didn't recognize that actually, in some ways, he's good at playing games. He's good at winning with business. It doesn't have to be fair, doesn't have to be respectful, but he's good at gaining favor and wielding controversy towards positive outcomes for his goals. And he has people around him that are very intelligent and that know how to do the same. He's good at winning. I know it might hurt some of you to think that. He wasn't the most intelligent president by any stretch of the imagination, but he was good at getting his way. He's a pretty moderate president in the scope of all the presidents that have been elected, but he galvanized a huge portion of that country into this massive subculture that still believe in him and fight hard for him, and apparently unfairly slapping him with all these charges
and conviction
is just going to make him be able to point out how broken the system is. And he's going to use that in his favor. People don't get it. A lot of people are just suffering with this terrible, deep derangement from a spiritual development and spiritual journey point of view. You always have to be able to try to see past your own hang-ups, try to look into your shadow and recognize other sides of the story. You don't have to like it, but it allows you to see what is true, the full breadth of all the stories and how they weave together. And in some cases, it allows you to be in a position to not get your ass fucking kicked. And I worry that the left is going to get their ass fucking kicked. Same with Democrats as the election approaches. All these moves, all these gotchas that really are just giving this former leader more power to wield, more strategies to implement in the game. Elections, definitely a game. It's rigged. And I'm not saying that he's some freedom fighter. I'm not a Trump supporter at all. But it seems like a lot of people just don't understand how the game is played and the moves that he's making. Part of him and the people that are around him, part of their strengths is to be able to win while looking foolish, even stupid, but still get the outcome that's desired. Many tricks, manipulations. That's part of how he got into office. And it baffled many pollsters and pundits and left-leaning supporters and Democrats. It baffled them. And it probably is going to happen again. And that's sad because I'm not a supporter. But, again, part of breaking out of duality, stepping into a multi-perspectival viewpoint of existence and human beings, is seeing your enemy, or not even your enemy, but seeing those that you do not care for, that you do not enjoy or even agree with, seeing their humanity, trying to understand where they're coming from. That's an important, deep part of this work that I'm talking about and that I hope many of you are undertaking. So Trump Derangement Syndrome is real. Trump Derangement Syndrome is tragic in some cases. While my father was still alive, for a few years, many times, almost every time, I would go to his house, his wife, and a sibling would be there at get-togethers, some functions, and reflexively, their Trump Derangement Syndrome would flare up. And the only thing that they could talk about was whatever the current news item about how evil and terrible this man was. That's all they could talk about. And I, not as a Trump supporter at all, or even a supporter of that kind of person or that kind of masculinity or anything like that, I had to sit there and defend him because they were being far too severe. They were catastrophizing, and they were making him into a devil, which just gives this person power. Stop giving your power away. If you don't want this guy to get into office, try to be a little more level-headed. Try to be a little more balanced. A large portion of the Trump supporters are working class folks who just weren't represented or supported. And I don't think that this orange devil is a working class hero at all, though he's positioned himself as such. He's just good at playing games. He's good at manipulating. He's good at selling. I know you don't want to think that, but he got into office and he created an entire subculture by appearing at least, to be the hero that all these working class folks had been waiting for, to speak for them, to champion for them, to win for them. And even though he went out of office, even though he didn't get reelected in the last election, his base remained strong. Because who else could they turn to that would fight for them so effectively and so hard? So you got to take all the people, your fellow citizens, you got to take them seriously. A large portion of them have legitimate grievances, concerns that have largely been unaddressed, that have been glossed over or pushed aside for, well, in some cases, very indulgent, progressive, left-leaning politics that sort of took over both the culture and the political conversation. The derangement goes deep, and not addressing that derangement within you is just going to ensure that you get defeated. I don't want this to be a war, but it is a culture war. And it's playing out in politics. And the battle is ramping up and will ramp up further very soon. All these charges laid upon him with conviction. Gotcha! No, you didn't get shit. Just gave him a powerful tool to wield, an example of something that was unfair. People that didn't even like him or support him in the past might now get on his side because there's no other side. That's part of the question here. Are you capable of seeing past your bias, your deep derangement, when something is unfair that's being inflicted upon someone that you don't like? Things are so polarized, and will get further polarized. I'm still a liberal person. I'm not a leftist. I don't even know if I'm left-leaning, but I'm still a liberal-minded person. These kind of values that used to be liberal 10, 20 years ago are still very important to me. I want to take responsibility for my side of things that has gone so far in the wrong direction and has alienated me and many others, left us wandering the spectrum, the political spectrum, trying to find a place to fit in, or just say, fuck it. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to watch this war unfold. And we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. I'm in a situation here in Canada with the pretty boy who's in office, who screwed things up so bad, lost so many good-hearted liberals in the last 3 or 4 years, and is just shallow. He's an actor. It's sad, the state of politics. If I was a citizen of the United States, I would probably abstain. I definitely wouldn't vote for Biden. I definitely wouldn't vote for Trump. Here, I might have to do the same if an election comes up. But we need to see through to what's actually happening and stop fooling ourselves and allowing this political derangement, this cultural derangement, this, in some cases, Trump derangement syndrome, to limit our ability to engage in battle when we must fight. Too many left-leaning people are just throwing rotten tomatoes at the orange devil, and he's taking them and making pasta to feed his minions. And they love it. You're just making him more of a hero, not even a martyr, because he's not going to die. He's not going to go away so easily. Some of these folks, some of you folks, are just ensuring defeat. And it's sad. It's deranged. So look in the mirror and take responsibility for how skewed your judgment has become. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know who should win. But I have a strong feeling that things are crumbling. The systems that we all grew up in are lighting a flame and falling apart. And we'll see how this thing turns out. But I wish you luck in your process. Please address your derangement. It'll be better for everybody.